Good morning and welcome to another day in Lent. Today we're talking to JonMarc Grodi, the Chief Operating Officer of the Coming Home Network and my boss. And we're just going to talk a little bit about Holy Week and what it means for us as Catholics, but also what it means for people who are coming into the church. Coming right up. So JonMarc, you being the Chief Operating Officer of the Coming Home Network, you're working a lot right now with the vision of where the Coming Home Network is right now, but where we're going to be going in the next few years. Why don't you share a little bit about what that vision means for us as an organization, but also for you personally?
Yeah, well, Holy Week's a great time to reflect on that, because my whole life is sort of revolved around the Coming Home Network. Because my father was a Presbyterian pastor, and he came home to the Catholic Church when I was around 5. So I have memories of that. I have memories of being a young Christian. And all of my life after that has been shaped by my parents being true to their convictions, true to their faith in Christ, coming to the belief that they had to become Catholic, that was where the fullness was. So they did, and that was, that upset our lives a little bit. But all of my life after that has been, growing up as a Christian, the child of parents and a pastor who lived out his convictions and became Catholic. And then the rest of my life meeting other people who've made the similar journey. And I'm a fruit of that journey. My faith is the fruit of seeing my father pursue those convictions and seek out the truth. He wanted the fullness. And so here we are in Holy Week. Of course, that's always a time to remember that. That the gifts that Christ came to give us, all that he intended for us, the fullness of his sacrifice on the cross poured out for us. Not just a little bit, not just the parts that we want, the fullness. And Holy Week really stares us in the face with, the fullness of that sacrifice, the fullness of the grace that he wanted to give us, and the cost of it. So yeah, the vision of the Coming Home Network, we're about helping people to come home to that fullness. That's really what it comes down to. On the one hand, as we're a Catholic organization inviting people to Catholicism. We do believe that, despite the divisions that have occurred in Christianity, that Christians do need the fullness that's in Catholicism, that Christ wants them to have the sacraments. He wants to give them to himself in these special ways, and particularly in the Eucharist. That the normal means of abiding in Christ, which we're called to do, is through eating his flesh and drinking his blood, as he said. So we believe that Christians need that, but we also recognize that it's not just a matter of just having information out there. We have the internet, so there's more information is available to every person than any other time in history. But it's not just a matter of information. There's barriers. There are prejudices people have to get over, things that they've learned that are wrong, or assumptions that they've made, or in many cases just they've never met good Catholics. They've never met Catholics who appear to be Christians, or they've had bad experiences. And then even if they get over those barriers, there's all kinds of, particularly for pastors like my father, if they come to conviction they need to become Catholic, that's a huge shift in their life. That's a potential loss of vocation and profession and community. Oftentimes problems in their marriage, not in my parents' marriage, thankfully, but it's a huge jump, and they need support. When Christians come to the rediscovery of the church and the conviction they need to be reconciled with the church, it's a big barrier.
Right. So what is the main way that the Coming Home Network works with people like this, especially with pastors?
Well, one of the ways is get the word out there through the media, to share the stories, here on YouTube and other places. That's the way that we get in contact with people. But really, I think we're a unique organization in that once we're in contact with them, we're about working with people as individuals. When a pastor or a layperson, contacts us and lets us know that they're on the journey to the Catholic Church, we have a team on our staff of individuals, most of them converts, all of them theologically trained, who get in contact with them. They answer their questions, they learn their needs, they pray with them, connect them with other members of the network, and do whatever we can to support them on their journey. Even if it's only praying. We have a lady who contacted us, and she hasn't contacted us since, or she hasn't been in contact with us, but she let us know this Easter that she's still just nervous about moving forward. And so we just told her, then we're here just to pray for you and your family. If that's all we can do, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah. Well, I think that one-on-one connection, I think it's so powerful because, as you said, there's so much material out there. There's so much information. And it is so easy to just be flooded with information about the Catholic Church. And without the one-on-one connection, without the ability to ask a question and have the conversation and especially have the prayer, it's very easy to just let it wash over you and not let it impact you or fight against it.
Right.
But I think the ability to have people to connect with and wrestle through things with, pray through things with, I think is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's discipleship. There's discipleship is one of those words that's applied to everything, but it's a very specific thing. Christ had 12 disciples, 12 people that he poured his life into. It's pouring your life and your prayer and your attention into specific people. And so we have more than 12 people amongst our staff, but we do our best to, as individuals, to disciple them, to pray with them, to just help them. And again, what we're helping them to become Catholic. But again, the vision goes far beyond that. They need the Catholic Church because in the Catholic Church, Christ has so much he wants to give them. But the goal is for them to be holy, as our Heavenly Father is holy. Christ has a mission for them. Christ has so many gifts he wants to give them to empower them and for their own salvation, their own sanctification, their own life in Christ. And so the vision goes, it's not just to get them across the finish line. Oh, they're Catholic. Great. Yep, on to the next one. No, the goal is for them to be saints. The goal is for them to reach the fullest potential that Christ has for them. And we just believe that, it's in the Catholic Church that the rest of the tools, the rest of the graces are there for Christ to impart to them.
Right. One of the things that I realized when I was becoming Catholic was that there wasn't an end to how much I could grow or learn. And realizing that it was that path to sainthood that we're all called to. And that looking at the lives of the saints in the Catholic Church is just giving us goals to strive for, to ask for God's help in helping us get there. It's definitely not something we can do on our own. But striving for this holiness that God is calling all of us to.
Yeah, one of my favorite examples of this, favorite tools in the Catholic Church is the liturgical year. Every year now, for about 25 years, if I have my math roughly correct, I've, as a Catholic, been, participating in the liturgical year of the Catholic Church. And so every year, leading up to Christmas, leading up to the celebration of the birth of Christ, there's a whole season of Advent, a season of quiet and detachment and stepping back and going deeper into prayer in preparation to re-encounter Christ being born. And then we enter back into ordinary time, and pretty soon it's Lent. A whole 40 days of fasting and prayer and almsgiving in preparation to rediscover, to re-encounter, to re-experience the sacrifice of Christ, his passion, his death and resurrection, the core of our Christian faith. And so again, Holy Week's here, one of my favorite tools, one of my favorite of the many, innumerable treasures of being a Catholic is the liturgical year, practicing the fasts and feasts of the Church.
Right. And I mentioned this the other day, but one of the things that I love about the liturgical calendar is that the longest season in the Catholic calendar is the season of Easter.
Yeah.
You have Advent, you have Christmas, which is just 12 days. You have Lent, which is 40, but you have Easter, is 50 days. The longest period that is not out of ordinary time, the longest period in the calendar is the time that we celebrate his resurrection. Yeah.
One of my favorite comedians makes the joke about, he's going through different American holidays, and he's pointing out his joke is, it's a day where we eat a lot. We do that every day. I love the liturgical year because it puts some rhyme or reason in our modern life. For Catholics, we have fasts and feasts. Well, the season of Easter is many weeks of feasting. And again, if many weeks of feasting seems like it would be out of place for you, the question is maybe we don't take our fasts serious enough. If we don't fast, then we can't really feast. We can't really celebrate when it's time to celebrate. So,
yeah. Well, thanks for joining me today. I know one of your great passions, well, two of your great passions are philosophy and literature. And so I'm definitely going to have you back to geek out on some of those things.
Sounds good.
But just want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions about the Catholic Church, I encourage you to join, or just join if you want, chnetwork.org. There are tons of stories on there, tons of stories of people that have come and discovered the fullness and the beauty and the truth of the Catholic Church. We have videos, written stories, podcasts, and there's a wonderful community to go to ask questions. And I have to say, it's one of the most charitable online communities I've ever seen. And so check out chnetwork.org. And if you have any questions, it's a great place to go. So if you'd like to watch another video, click on this video right over his face. If you want to join this community, you like what I'm doing on this channel, click that subscribe button, hit that like button if you like this video, and that little church bell to get a notification when I put up a new video. I'll see you again tomorrow, and God bless.